on Goblin Reddit. Today's story is...
My ex allowed his new girlfriend to pretend to be the mother of our son on Instagram for 6 months, until the court taught her a lesson that destroyed her career as an influencer. After finalizing my divorce from Faniel, 34M, I, 30F, was hoping to be able to relax and focus on raising my little Wesley, who was just born. However, life had other plans. Instead of enjoying these special moments with my son, I find myself trapped in one of the strangest and most frustrating situations I have ever experienced. Wesley, or Wes as I usually call him, is just a few months old, and he is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I have full custody, but Faniel has visiting rights. The problem is that she has not been at all reliable about showing up. Sometimes she simply does not show up for scheduled visits without even sending a message, which, honestly, is her loss. I have put all my effort into creating a safe and loving home for Wes, and, despite the ups and downs, I have managed to keep everything in order. A few months ago, Julie, 25F, appeared on the scene. She is Faniel's new girlfriend. She is young, full of energy, and has that perfect Instagram image that screams aspiring influencer. I met her briefly once when Faniel brought her to one of her visits with Wes. She was polite, but something about her felt strange to me. Like she was trying too hard to impress me, which was weird because I didn't really care about her at all. I didn't think much about Julie until a few weeks ago, when I started noticing photos of Wes popping up on her social media. At first, there were just a couple of images, Wes in his stroller, and Wes sleeping in his car seat. It was annoying, but I told myself to let it go. I assumed that Faniel had taken the photos and shared them with her, which was irritating, but not worth making a fuss about. Then the caption started. One photo showed Julie holding Wes with the text, "Mommy's little angel." Another said, "I can't believe how blessed I am to have this little guy in my life." And the one that really made me blow up was a picture of her giving Wes a bottle with the text, "Night feeds are tough but worth it for my little boy." Excuse me? I was completely outraged. She was acting as if she were Wes's mother. As if she had carried him inside her for 9 months and gone through childbirth to bring him into the world. My blood was boiling with rage. I immediately called Faniel to ask her what was going on. As expected, she completely ignored me. She said I was overreacting and that Julie just loves Wes very much. In fact, she had the nerve to tell me that I should be grateful that she cares so much about him. Grateful? To someone who is trying to rewrite history and pretend that my baby is hers? No way. I demanded that he get her to remove the photos. He flatly refused. He said she wasn't doing anything wrong and wasn't claiming to be Wes's legal mother. I wanted to scream in frustration. He completely missed the point. Or, more likely, he understood it and just didn't care. It didn't stop there. People I barely know started contacting me, older acquaintances and distant relatives congratulating me for letting go and allowing Julie to take on the role of mother. One person even asked me if I was still involved in Wes's life because Julie seemed to have really embraced the maternal role. I felt like I was living in an alternate reality. I told Faniel that I didn't want Julie anywhere near Wes. It wasn't a decision made lightly, but after everything I had seen on her social media, her pretending to be Wes's mother, the invasive posts, the fake captions, I couldn't just ignore it. I explained that her behavior was disrespectful, inappropriate, and damaging to both me and Wes. This was my son, not hers. She had no right to treat him like an accessory to get likes and attention. Faniel, of course, did not take it seriously. She rolled her eyes and acted as if I were being irrational. She said she was jealous and bitter, that she couldn't bear for someone else to assume a maternal role for Wes. Then he dropped the bombshell. According to him, Wes wasn't just my son, he was also their son. He said they could do whatever they wanted with Wes, including taking photos and posting them online, and that I had no right to interfere. He told me to get over it because Julie wasn't going anywhere. The way he dismissed my concerns was both outrageous and heartbreaking. I called my lawyer to see what my options were. She explained that, although this is relatively uncharted territory, I definitely have a case. Posting photos of Wes without my consent is a violation of my rights as his primary guardian, and the captions could be considered misrepresentation. My lawyer advised me to take Faniel back to court and address this formally. So that's what I'm doing. Of course, Faniel is furious. He's been calling and texting nonstop, alternating between shouting at me and begging me to drop the case. He says I'm being petty and jealous, and that I'm just trying to cause trouble. He's even tried to make me feel guilty by saying I'm wasting money on legal fees instead of spending it on Wes. Typical Faniel, always trying to deflect blame and play the victim. Julie, meanwhile, has upped the ante. She's posting even more photos of Wes, and now she's adding hashtags like #momlifebonus and #myboy. I've blocked her, but mutual acquaintances keep sending me screenshots. Here's the thing. It's not just about the photos. It's about boundaries and respect. Julie is way over the line, and Faniel is backing her up. I'm worried about what this will mean for Wes as he grows up. How do I explain to him that a woman was pretending to be his mother on Instagram? My friends have mixed feelings about this. Most think that Julie's behavior is quite disturbing and out of line, but some think I'm making too much of a fuss. They've told me to just ignore it, block Julie, and move on. But I can't just let it go. It feels wrong in so many ways, and I won't let anyone change the story of my son's life. So now I'm preparing for another round of court battles with Faniel. I hate that it's come to this, but I don't see any other option. It's not just about me. It's about protecting Wes and making sure his life doesn't become some Instagram fantasy for Julie's followers. But sometimes I doubt myself. Am I being unreasonable? Should I just let it go and concentrate on raising Wes? Or am I justified in taking Faniel and Julie to court over this? SLC for taking legal action against my ex and his girlfriend over my son? Update 1. I received several comments asking for some background on me and Faniel and why we got divorced. So here it is. Faniel and I met when I was at university. We lived next door to each other. I was 21 years old, trying to balance my classes, a part-time job, and all the typical craziness of university life. He was 25, extremely charming, and pretty much everything I thought I wanted in a guy. We started with casual conversations in the hallway and would meet in the cafeteria near our apartments. Before I knew it, he was asking me out. He was wonderful back then. The kind of boyfriend you'd expect to find in a romantic comedy, very attentive, always paying attention, and endlessly encouraging. He would turn up with coffee during my late-night study marathons. He would organize lovely weekend trips when I felt overwhelmed, and he had a knack for making me laugh. He felt like the perfect guy, the one who really wanted to build a future with me. But now that I think about it, I realize that I fell in love with the version of him that he wanted me to see, not the real Faniel. After graduating, we moved in together. And a couple of years later, he proposed to me. I was on cloud 9 with happiness. At that moment, I felt like everything was falling perfectly into place. We got married in an intimate ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. And I couldn't wait to start our life together. The first few months were fantastic, just as I had always imagined, but gradually it started to change. It didn't happen suddenly, but now that I think about it, the warning signs were definitely there from the start. At first, he was just a bit controlling in small ways. He would ask about the details of my plans with friends or make little comments about my spending habits. What started as minor concerns turned into full-blown arguments if I didn't do things his way. He always had to be in charge, whether it was deciding where we were going to eat dinner or how we spent our weekends. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just an adjustment period. After all, marriage was supposed to be a partnership, right? My parents were never fans of any of the guys I dated before Faniel. They always found something odd about them. But with Faniel, it was completely different. They loved him right away. And he seemed to meet all their requirements. I started to think that if my parents, so difficult to please, liked him, then maybe I was overanalyzing things. He seemed like the perfect guy to them, so I ignored all the warning signs and put aside my doubts, convincing myself that I had finally found someone who met everyone's expectations. But the longer we were together, the more controlling he became. He criticized my choices. He tried to keep me away from my friends, and made me feel like I couldn't do anything without his approval. I felt trapped. But I kept convincing myself that this was just a bad patch. I thought that if I tried harder, or if I loved him more intensely, things would get better. Everything fell apart about a year ago. I found out that I was pregnant, a complete surprise. I wasn't sure how Faniel would react, but I was hoping that this baby would bring us closer together. Instead, just days after confirming my pregnancy, I found out that he was cheating on me with his mother's friend, of all people. I felt like my whole world was falling apart. When I confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it. He just said that our marriage was falling apart and that he wanted something new. That same night, I packed my things, left, and went to stay at my parents' house. It wasn't just the infidelity. It was the painful realization that the man I thought I had married was never really there. When my parents found out that Faniel had cheated on me, they were devastated. They had always liked him and thought he was the right man for me. They felt terribly guilty for not seeing who he really was and blamed themselves for having supported the relationship all that time. When I went into labor, Faniel wasn't even there. I called him as soon as the contractions started, hoping that for once he would take responsibility, but he didn't even bother to show up. Instead, he made some excuse about being busy and told me to keep him informed. I spent hours of pain and exhaustion completely alone, bringing Wes into the world without any support from the person who should have been by my side. It broke my heart to realize that, even at the most important moment in our son's life, Faniel didn't care. It was as if she had already decided that Wes wasn't her responsibility. I was left to do everything on my own. Update 2. Hello, I'm back with an update. I want to start by thanking everyone who supported me and gave me advice after my last post. It's been a real emotional roller coaster, but things have definitely moved forward, so I thought I'd share what's happened. Since I filed the case against Faniel and Julie, things have been quieter than I expected. Faniel hasn't visited Wes at all, not once. It's been weeks, and honestly, I can't say I'm surprised. I've known for quite some time that Faniel hasn't been the most reliable when it comes to being a father, but this only confirms what I've been feeling all this time. It's as if he's completely disregarded his parental responsibilities. He's made no effort to spend time with Wes, or even to find out how he's doing. His excuses have been poor at best, and frankly, I'm not sure he cares to try. But this is where things take an unexpected turn. A friend of mine sent me a screen grab of a video Julie posted on her Instagram story. At first, I didn't know what to expect, but I couldn't have been prepared for what I saw. Julie was on camera, crying intensely, looking as dramatic as possible. She was claiming that Faniel's evil ex-wife, me, had kidnapped her son and was not allowing her to see her child. Yes, exactly. She was accusing me of kidnapping my own son, Wes. I couldn't even process what I was hearing. She was crying her eyes out, talking about how terrified she was, how she didn't know what to do. Her followers were commenting nonstop, offering advice, telling her to call the police and file a report. It was completely absurd. Not only was she continuing to pretend to be Wesley's mother, but now she was claiming that she had taken him away from me. She was making me look like I was the villain in this whole situation, when in reality I was just trying to protect my son from her invasive and toxic behavior. I'm not gonna lie, I was really angry. I couldn't just sit back and let him tell that false story, especially since it was such an obvious ploy to distort reality, so I decided to send the video to my lawyer. I wasn't sure how it would affect the case, but I thought it was evidence that might be useful. My lawyer called me a few hours later and told me that this was exactly what we needed. She explained that it was solid evidence for our case and could be crucial in demonstrating Julie's lack of respect for boundaries and manipulation. She also mentioned that it could be used to further highlight Faniel's neglect and absence as a parent. The video wasn't just about Julie's audacity. It also served to demonstrate how far she was willing to go to be part of Wes's life, no matter what the truth was. The moment my lawyer said that this could work in our favor, I felt an enormous relief. I had been worried that I wasn't going to have enough evidence to maintain my position in this case, but now I felt like things were starting to come together. I'm not just fighting for custody. I already have full custody. I am fighting for what is best for Wes. And this is a key piece of ensuring he has a stable and safe environment, away from people who are not even trying to do the right thing by him. I now have a glimmer of hope. Many of my friends, especially those who were skeptical about my decision to take legal action, are now completely on my side. They saw the video, they looked at what Julie had done, and they were outraged. Even people who thought I was exaggerating before now saw the manipulation for what it really was. My phone has been blowing up with messages of support, which honestly feels like a huge relief. I have felt so isolated throughout this whole process, so having people backing me makes a huge difference. I was also surprised how many of my friends pointed out that Faniel's absence was another major red flag. Not a single visit in almost a month. No explanation, no effort. Honestly, it's been a blessing in disguise because it's strengthening my case even more. If he doesn't even bother to see his son, what right does he have to any kind of regular visitation? My lawyer completely agreed. She said it would be very difficult for him to justify why he shouldn't lose his visiting rights if he's not making any effort to be part of Wes's life. This whole situation has made me realize how much I have been doing for Wes on my own. Faniel's absence is constant, and I have simply had to adapt to it. Wes deserves much more than what Faniel is offering, and I am doing my best to give him a stable and loving environment. It has not been easy, but I am succeeding, and I have never felt more sure that I am doing the right thing. Now I'm just waiting for the next steps. My lawyer says we have a very strong case, and that this new evidence, Julie's video, is going to help us enormously. I'm moving forward, and it seems that everything is finally falling into place. My priority is to raise Wes and make sure he is happy and healthy, and to surround him with love. That's the update for now. I'll keep you posted as things progress, but thanks again to everyone who has been supportive. It means more than you can imagine. Update 3. It seems that every time I think the situation can't get any worse, Julie proves me wrong. After her first post trying to gain sympathy, I thought maybe she'd take the hint and move on, but no, she took it a step further. In fact, she created an entire account dedicated to Wes. She didn't even try to hide it. She named the account something like Wesley's Mom or something like that. Honestly, I've blocked the exact name from my mind because I couldn't bear it. I don't even know how to describe this properly, but the fact that she felt entitled to create an account with his name on it is just disturbing. And don't even get me started on the photos he's posting. They're not just random everyday images. He's posting photos of Wes in my house from visits with Faniel, even though I never gave my consent for him to post any of them. What perplexes me is that she is doing all this while still claiming to be his mother to the whole world. She is sharing these deeply personal captions about how much she misses her baby, how she hopes that one day she can be with him again, all while acting as if I don't exist. It is a complete invasion of our privacy. This is no longer just a silly passing obsession, it's turning into a really serious fixation. And I'm genuinely worried about what she might do next. I had no choice but to take this very seriously. I've already filed for a restraining order against her, and I'm adding a defamation suit to the legal battle. The things she said about me, especially the accusations that I kidnapped Wes, are not just outrageous. They're potentially damaging. She's trying to paint me as some kind of unfit mother who's keeping Wes from her, but I know the truth. I have done absolutely everything I can to give Wes a stable and loving home. All I have ever wanted is for him to be safe and happy. And now Julie is actively working against that goal. What frustrates me even more is that Faniel is simply standing by and allowing all of this to happen. He is doing absolutely nothing to stop Julie. If he cared about Wes as much as he claims, he would be telling Julie to back off, to stop posting about Wes, and to respect the boundaries we have set. But no, he is doing nothing about it. She hasn't even visited Wes in weeks. Her absence speaks for itself. Honestly, I'm not even surprised anymore. I think deep down, I've always known that Faniel hasn't been committed to being a good father, and this just clearly confirms it. The case now is not just about custody. It's about defending my rights as a mother and protecting Wes from someone who seems to have an unhealthy, almost obsessive need to insert herself into his life. I don't know how Julie got this idea that she could be a kind of mother to Wes, but I'm not going to let her get away with it. I've spoken to my lawyer about the defamation lawsuit, and she thinks we have a very strong case. Julie's actions, spreading lies, creating a fake social media account, and accusing me of things I didn't do could cause me and my family harm that goes beyond just custody. And if that weren't enough, there's the whole restraining order thing that will give me some peace of mind. Knowing that Julie has no legal right to invade our lives in such an unhealthy way. All I want is peace. I want to raise Wes in a safe and stable environment. free from the toxicity and manipulation that Julie seems to enjoy so much. It's exhausting to have to fight so hard just to protect my own son, but I won't give up. I will not let someone like Julie take over my son's life and create this fantasy where she is his mother. She is not. I am. I am the one who has been there every step of the way. I am the one who will continue to be there for Wes no matter what. At this point, I just hope the court can see the truth clearly. I want them to understand how serious this situation is. Julie's obsession isn't just disturbing. It's potentially dangerous. I need to make sure that Wes is never exposed to this kind of manipulation, and that Julie faces the consequences of everything she has done. If Faniel can't even be bothered to step in and protect her own son, then I will do whatever it takes to make sure that Wes is completely safe. I will keep you updated as the case progresses. Thank you so much for your continued support. It means more than I can put into words. Update 4. Hi. It's been a while since I shared any news. The case is finally concluded, and I can't express how relieved I am to have it behind me. I've been meaning to post an update for some time, but life has been quite busy. Mostly in a positive way, thankfully. Let me start with Faniel. His visiting rights were under reconsideration, and, to be completely honest, it wasn't even a difficult battle. Faniel showed little interest in visiting Wes, and that just made the whole process easier for me. The court really took that into serious consideration. When someone is clearly neglecting their child, it doesn't exactly strengthen their position. Faniel didn't even make the slightest effort to fight for his son. And I think the court interpreted that for what it really was, a sign that he wasn't willing to be the father Wes needed. That was honestly a huge relief. I had spent so much time worrying about the impact his presence in Wes's life might have, but in the end it became perfectly clear that Faniel really wasn't present anyway. Julie, on the other hand, was a completely different matter. She fought tooth and nail for custody of Wesley, and I simply couldn't understand her reasoning. I mean, it didn't make any logical sense. She wasn't even in a legal position to fight for him. She had absolutely no legal grounds. She was literally just trying to insert herself into his life in any way possible. It was completely absurd. What made the situation even more baffling was her attempt to play the role of a mother figure for Wes, even though she barely knew him. Julie's entire case was built on a fantasy she had created in her mind, and fortunately, the court saw through it all. They didn't take her seriously at all. And in the end, Julie was practically ignored in the proceedings. It was sad to see someone put so much effort into something completely unattainable, but it was comforting that the court recognized her manipulative actions for what they really were. But by far the biggest victory was that we managed to get a restraining order against her. It was something I didn't even know I needed so desperately until it finally happened. I can't even explain how much peace of mind it has given me to know that Julie has no legal right to contact me or be around Wes. Julie was overstepping the mark in so many different ways, and now she is legally prohibited from doing any of those things. Honestly, I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't obtained that restraining order. The last thing I wanted was for Wes to be exposed to Julie's obsession, but now I know that I have the legal backing to make sure she stays completely away. On top of all that, Julie had to face some pretty serious legal consequences. The defamation lawsuit we filed for accusing me of kidnapping my own son really paid off, and it felt incredibly good to hold her accountable for those harmful lies. Julie really did try to destroy my reputation just because she couldn't have what she wanted, and the court recognized it for what it was. I can't believe she had the audacity to claim that I kidnapped Wes, but I'm so glad I didn't let her get away with it. That lawsuit wasn't just about the damage she tried to cause. It was also about protecting myself and making sure she couldn't ruin my life with her lies. It's truly amazing how far some people will go to pass themselves off as victims, even when they are the ones causing the damage. In an unexpected turn of events, after all this, Julie faced intense, negative public backlash. Once people started to realize what had really happened, from the false accusations she made about me to the ways she had been using Wes to gain sympathy, her social media following practically evaporated. It was almost poetic. Julie had built her entire digital image around being the loving stepmother-in-waiting. And once the truth came out, she lost approximately 90% of her followers. people finally saw her for what she really was, and it didn't take long for her to lose all the support she had. In surprising news, Faniel and Julie have ended their relationship. It seems that after all these recent events, Julie finally understood that Faniel would not provide her with the ideal family life she had been imagining. From what I could gather, Julie wanted Faniel to be a big father figure for Wes, but Faniel wasn't willing to take on that role. He didn't want to play the role she dreamed of, and Julie finally faced the reality that Faniel wasn't going to give her the family life she had been hoping for. I'm not going to pretend that I care much about their breakup. It's really none of my business, but it's a relief to know that Julie is no longer in Faniel's life. She's no longer part of the picture, and I can concentrate on raising Wes without her constantly trying to insert herself into our lives. As for me, there's good news in my personal life too. I'm starting to date now. It's still a very new relationship, and I'm taking things slowly, but I feel really happy about it. The best thing is that it's with someone I've known for a long time, so there's no pressure to rush things. We've been friends for a long time, and he knows the whole story with Faniel and Julie, so he's been extremely patient with me. He fully understands where I'm coming from and isn't pushing me into anything I'm not ready for. It's been a breath of fresh air to have someone in my life who is understanding and kind without any of the drama or complications I experienced with Faniel and Julie. Overall, things are improving remarkably. Wes is growing very well, and I am doing everything I can to make sure he is happy and healthy. Thanks to everyone who supported me during this complicated process.